Hello, Year 8, and welcome to your history lesson. I'm Miss Green, and today we're going to be doing some more work on the Gunpowder Plot. So last lesson you watched the video and you answered some questions on it. And today we're going to look at whether we think Guy Fawkes was guilty or whether in fact we think he might have been framed by the authorities. And what I'm looking for is for you to show that you can support your answers with evidence and that you understand both points of view. But let's kick off with a quick quiz to start. So grab your paper and your pencil or pen. Don't look up any of these answers. This is just to see how much you can remember and do a quick recap. So if you need more time, you can pause the video after the question and then we'll go through the answers at the end. So question number 1. How many plotters can you name? There are 13 in total. How many can you remember? Who did they intend to kill? What were they hoping to achieve by doing this? How did the authorities first find out about a possible plot? And finally, what actions did the authorities then take? And what was the result? So we can go through the answers. There are 13 plotters, as I said. The key names you might have got were Guy Fawkes, of course, Robert Catesby, the key conspirator who came up with the plan, Thomas Winter, John Wright, Thomas Percy, and of course Francis Tresham, who is believed to be the author of the famous letter. Who did they intend to kill? They wanted to kill King James I, and of course by blowing up the House of Lords they would have also killed any number of bishops and nobles at the same time. What were they hoping to achieve? Well, the ultimate aim was to put a Catholic monarch on the throne and to make England a Catholic country again. They might have used Elizabeth, James I's daughter. That was their ultimate goal. How did the authorities first find out about a possible plot? Well, as I just mentioned, it was by a letter written to Lord Monteagle, Francis Tresham's brother-in-law, which is warning him not to go to Parliament that day. What actions did the authorities take as a result of this letter? They undertook a search which discovered Guy Fawkes with the gunpowder in the cellar underneath the Houses of Parliament. So well done. If you think you're a bit shaky on that, you'll also find attached a summary of the Gunpowder Plot that you can have a read of and refresh your mind of the important details, or you could even go back and watch the video again. So let's look now at this painting. So this picture shows the conspirators hatching the plot to blow up the King and Parliament. They are grouped together and they're clearly plotting and look very secretive. Pause the video now and try and write down as many reasons as you can think of from what you know about the Gunpowder Plot as to why you believe the plotters were guilty. What is the evidence we have that the plotters were guilty? Well, you might have written the very obvious answers that Guy Fawkes was found with 36 barrels of gunpowder underneath the Houses of Parliament. That's pretty good evidence that they were plotting. Of course, you've got the Monteagle letter we've already discussed. which alludes to the plan to blow up Parliament. And Guy Fawkes himself freely told them that the plan was to cause an explosion. Have a look again now, and what if I tell you that this picture was in fact painted by a Protestant Dutchman who had never seen the conspirators? Think back to your last lesson and the video, and do you remember at the end they raised a number of questions, places where the evidence it doesn't quite make sense, a number of questions that are unanswered, things that just make you doubt the official version of events that we've come to believe. Pause the video and go and look at your notes again, or see how much you can remember, and come up with some reasons why you think the Catholics might have been framed, the conspirators might have been framed by the authorities. Well, you might have written the fact that they used torture. There was no evidence of a tunnel that's discussed. They've never found any evidence of a tunnel having been dug. Just some things that don't make sense. Why would you bring in extra plotters at the last minute? Just adds to your risk of being discovered. And the Monteagle letter, it is such a strange letter, anonymous, and none of the plotters at any point claim to have written it, even at the very end where it might have helped their cause. It's just a very strange letter. Today, we're going to look at the different pieces of evidence in more detail, and we're going to put them into a Venn diagram to try and help us make our decision. So you will find a template of a Venn diagram that you can use, or you could draw one yourself. And I'd like you to put the headings: were the Catholics framed, or were the Catholics guilty? So on one of the sheets attached, you should find a piece of paper with 16 different boxes of information, each one sort of little nuggets of information, and you need to write up those pieces of evidence into the correct part of the Venn diagram. You need to decide where they're going to fit. So for example, there's one piece of information which says the plan was the idea of Robert Catesby, a Catholic. He hated James because the king had told Catholic priests to leave the country. You might decide that that supports the argument that the Catholics were guilty, and you'd write that piece of information in the circle, Catholics are guilty. If you think the piece of information doesn't support either argument, it doesn't strengthen either side of the argument, you can put that piece of information into the middle where the two circles overlap. When you've done that, and that will take up the majority of your lesson, I would like you to make your decision on what you believe is the case. Do you think they were guilty, or do you think they were framed? And I'd like you to write a brief PEE paragraph making your decision and explaining why you have decided the way you have. So you should put your most convincing piece of evidence first, and then use at least 2 other pieces of supporting evidence. If you need more, you could include an argument from the opposing side, and then put why you think it isn't that convincing. Finally, don't forget to submit your work. So we'd like to see, please, the Venn diagram with the information in the different circles, and also your concluding paragraph. Good luck.